Welcome to Love Lies Chronicles.
Support the channel by liking, commenting, and subscribing. I promise even more interesting stories. It happened on a Tuesday. Not that the day really mattered, but it's funny how your brain locks onto useless details when your entire life starts to split apart. I remember I'd just come home from the gym, sweaty, tired, carrying a six-pack of her favorite hard seltzer because she'd texted me earlier that she had a rough day. Thought I was doing something thoughtful. You know, one of those small, boring gestures husbands do without thinking, hoping it'll matter more than it ever does. The house was quiet. Too quiet. That strange kind of stillness where even the refrigerator hum sounds suspicious. She was sitting on the couch, legs crossed, looking composed. Too composed. Her makeup was still perfect, even though she was supposedly crying in the bathroom an hour ago. I didn't sit down. "I think we need to talk," she said, barely looking at me. There was no warmth in her voice. Not even anger. Just a blunt, transactional tone like we were renegotiating a phone plan, not unraveling years of marriage. I asked, "What's going on?" "I've met someone," she said, flatly. "And before you ask, no, I haven't slept with him. Yet." That word, yet, landed like a knife between my ribs. "I'm not in love with you anymore," she continued, as if she was reading from a script. "I need passion. Drive. Someone who makes me feel alive." I stood there frozen, still holding the plastic handle of the seltzer pack like a complete idiot. "What are you talking about, Lauren?" I finally managed. "Where is this coming from?" She finally looked at me then. Not with guilt or remorse, but something closer to pity. Like she was trying to let me down gently after putting a bullet in my chest. "I've been seeing a therapist. And a coach. You probably don't know what that is. It's kind of like a personal growth advisor. He helped me realize I've been settling. I need someone who challenges me. You're just comfortable." There it was. Comfortable. The death sentence for husbands everywhere. She stood up, as if that conversation was over, and walked to the hallway. "I'm moving out tomorrow." I asked the question anyone in my position would. "Who is he?" She paused, her back to me. "You don't know him. He's not in our circle." I didn't believe that for a second. When I pressed, she turned sharply. "Why do you care? You'll be fine, Jason. You've always been the stable one. The rock. You'll land on your feet." It was the way she said it, like she was excusing herself from any guilt, any responsibility. She had already written herself out of our story and cast herself as the brave heroine starting fresh. But I wasn't finished. "Are you seriously doing this over some guy you barely know?" Her lips curled into this smug little smile. "He's not just some guy. He's everything you're not. Ambitious. Charismatic. Powerful." I laughed, not because it was funny, but because I couldn't believe I was hearing this. I wanted to ask if she was being blackmailed, drugged, hypnotized, because this didn't sound like my wife. This sounded like a woman reading out loud from a self-help breakup blog. She dropped the final blow as she grabbed her keys. And for the record, my mother agrees. She said she always thought I could have done better. Then she walked out the door. No bags, no tearful glances over her shoulder. Just heels clicking down the steps like she was late for a dinner reservation. I didn't chase after her. I didn't cry, not right away. I sat on the couch, right where she had been a minute earlier. The smell of her perfume still clung to the air. And there, on the coffee table, was the last Valentine's Day card I'd written her. Still out, like it had been placed there to mock me. I read it again. I had written something like, "You're my peace in the chaos." Funny how wrong you can be. What hit me the hardest wasn't the betrayal itself. It was how easy it was for her. Like she'd already practiced the speech in front of a mirror. Like she'd rehearsed being done with me. And somewhere, deep in the pit of my gut, I knew she hadn't stumbled into this new guy. She'd been led there. Guided. Maybe even groomed. And I had no idea who he really was or what he wanted from her. But I was going to find out. The first few days felt like a fog had swallowed me whole. Everything moved in slow motion, except my thoughts. Those ran like wildfire. Every detail, every moment over the past 6 months started replaying in my head. At first, they looked like random snapshots, harmless things. But as I strung them together, they began to form something else entirely. It wasn't that she changed overnight. It was gradual. Creeping. Subtle shifts. She stopped making coffee in the morning like she used to, blamed it on cutting caffeine. She started working out at night instead of mornings, said it gave her better sleep. She kept her phone face down more often. Started using that little wireless earpiece on calls, even around the house. Once, she went to the bathroom and didn't realize the Bluetooth was still connected to our living room speaker. I heard some man's voice before she frantically disconnected it. She said it was a podcast, a business coach. I didn't question it, because I trusted her. That's the worst part. You want to believe love earns you that much. You give your trust and get the same in return. But Lauren used it like a shield. Every time I got the sense something was off, she'd throw her arms around me, kiss me a little too eagerly, and say, "God, you overthink everything." She used to love how grounded I was. Now it was a problem. I remember the first time I noticed she'd changed her perfume. I told her she smelled amazing, and she said, "Oh, it's just something new I found." But she was lying, because a few weeks later, I found the same perfume bottle in the glove compartment of her car. It wasn't new. She just didn't want it in the house. You don't stash perfume in your glove box unless you're freshening up on the go before meeting someone. Still, I said nothing. I told myself not to be paranoid. That's what she would have called it anyway. Then there was that weird night 2 months ago. I'd come home early, an unexpected client cancellation gave me a free evening, and I thought I'd surprise her. I brought home takeout from that little Greek place she liked. But when I pulled into the driveway, I noticed something strange. Her car wasn't in its usual spot. It was parked farther down the street, near the neighbor's hedge. When I came inside, she was flustered. Flushed cheeks, damp hair. Said she'd just gotten out of a hot shower. But the bathroom was dry. That memory sat in the pit of my stomach like a stone now. She hadn't been home. She'd pulled up in a rush and parked out of view, probably spotted me from down the road. And who the hell had she been with? At the time, I didn't know how to even start looking for answers. But now that I had nothing left to protect, no illusions to keep alive, I started listening, watching. It didn't take long before someone reached out. It was Jen, a friend of Lauren's. The two of them had gotten close over the past year, wine nights, weekend hikes, empowerment circles, whatever that meant. Jen sent a message that simply read, "I didn't want to be in the middle of this, but I think you deserve to know some things. Can we talk?" We met up at a cafe. Neutral territory. She showed up looking nervous, eyes darting like she was afraid of being followed. When she sat down, she leaned in close and whispered like we were trading state secrets. She's been seeing this guy for a while, Jason. A few months, at least. She met him through that personal growth workshop she's obsessed with. My mouth was dry. "Who is he?" "I only met him once," she said. "He goes by Roman. Says he's a coach, or maybe a mentor. But he's intense. The way he looks at people, like he's sizing them up. And Lauren, she's been completely under his spell. She thinks he's some kind of genius." She paused. "Thing is, a few of us Googled him. Nothing adds up. He doesn't have a real last name. The retreat he runs isn't registered as a company. And a couple of the women who went in his private sessions, they stopped showing up." I frowned. "What do you mean stopped showing up?" "I mean they ghosted. Deleted social media. Dropped contact. One of them, Rachel, her sister, told me she moved away out of nowhere. I didn't want to believe what I was hearing. It sounded paranoid, like something out of a bad movie. But then I remembered Lauren's phone habits. The perfume. The overnight personality shift. "She thinks she's in control," Jen said quietly. "But she's not. That guy doesn't find women like Lauren by accident." I sat there for a long time after she left, staring at my untouched coffee. That night, I found myself scrolling back through Lauren's social media. Nothing new posted in days. Her account looked eerily frozen. Not even her usual motivational quotes. I checked our bank account next. She'd withdrawn a large sum, $10,000, just 2 days before she walked out. She hadn't told me about it, and she hadn't touched our joint account since. She was gone. But the version of her that left me, she didn't go into some fantasy life. She went somewhere darker. And whether she realized it or not, she'd stepped into something she wasn't ready for. It started with a text from her cousin, Maria. "Hey, random question, have you heard from Lauren?" That was it. No pleasantries. No emoji-filled check-in. Just a straight line of concern. I stared at my phone for a full minute before replying. "Nope." "Why?" Her answer came fast. "She missed my dad's birthday dinner. And she always shows up. Always." I didn't know what to say. So I didn't say anything at all. Because Maria wasn't the only one asking. A few days later, I got a call from Lauren's old coworker, Jules. She sounded awkward, like someone standing at the edge of a cliff, unsure if she should jump. "I ran into her downtown," Jules said. "She didn't see me, but—" Jason, she looked like a ghost. Pale. Skinny. Just not her. She was with some guy I didn't recognize, tall, older, looked like he walked out of a magazine ad for overpriced whiskey. She was hanging on his arm like a scared little girl. I swallowed hard. Did she say anything? She didn't even notice me. But he looked straight at me, like he was daring me to say something. Something about the way she said that, it made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. She used to be so sharp, Jules added, her voice softer now. Always the one holding court, laughing the loudest. But this time, she looked like she was rehearsing being happy. I didn't want to believe her. Or Jin. Or anyone, honestly. Because if they were right, then Lauren wasn't just gone. She was trapped. But still, I didn't reach out. I didn't call her. I told myself I was done trying to rescue someone who didn't want to be saved. And maybe that was true, but it didn't stop me from watching. I started noticing the small details she left behind. A forgotten sweater under the passenger seat of her car. I hadn't touched it since she left. A keychain she always carried, now collecting dust on the entry table. She used to check in on her plants religiously. Now the ones on the windowsill were dying, with no one to water them. Little things. But they added up. She was unraveling. And then came the voicemail. It was from a blocked number. I almost didn't answer it, but something told me to press play. The voice on the other end was shaky. Jason, it's me. Just those words. My name. Her voice. For a second, I thought it was a wrong number, maybe someone pretending. But no, it was her. Then silence. A deep, dragging pause. I don't know why I called. I probably shouldn't have. Just forget it. Click. No follow-up. No number to trace. She hadn't called since. I played the message 3 more times that night. She sounded hollow, like the version of her that once laughed at cheesy rom-coms and argued with me over sushi orders was gone. Jen called again a week later. She said she tried to get Lauren to meet up, said she had something important to tell her. Lauren refused. She told me Roman doesn't like her talking to people from her past life, Jen said. He calls it dead weight. Jason, she's being isolated. This is how it starts. I've seen this before. You need to understand this guy. He's not just controlling. He cultivates dependency. I felt my stomach turn. She thinks he's saving her, but he's just wearing a different mask. There was a long pause. Then Jen added something that chilled me. He's got other women, Jason. I'm sure of it. This isn't about love. It's about power. And Lauren thinks she's special. But she's not the first. She won't be the last. That night, I sat in the dark, staring at my ceiling, just like I had the night she left. But this time was different. Back then, I was trying to figure out what I'd done wrong. Now, I was starting to wonder what he'd done to her. I couldn't shake the thought that Lauren had been drawn into something far more dangerous than just another man's bed. She wasn't thriving. She was disappearing. And part of me still wanted to believe that she'd realize it before it was too late. But another part of me, the colder, more honest part, knew that people don't always wake up until they've lost everything. And even then, some never do. I didn't expect to see her again. Not in person. Not anytime soon. But life has a way of putting broken things on display when you least expect it. It was at a gas station on the edge of town. I'd just finished filling up, was wiping my windshield when I spotted a familiar figure stepping out of a black SUV, tinted windows, sleek paint, the kind of vehicle people drive when they want to be seen but not recognized. Lauren. Except, not the Lauren I knew. She was thinner. Not just physically smaller. Her shoulders hunched inward like she was trying to hide in plain sight. She wore sunglasses, even though it was cloudy. Her lips were pressed together in a line, like she hadn't smiled in weeks. She wasn't wearing makeup, which wouldn't have mattered, except it mattered, because Lauren never left the house without it. I didn't call out to her. I didn't move. I just watched. Then he got out of the driver's seat. Roman. I'd never seen him in person before, but I knew right away. It wasn't just the way he walked, like the world owed him something. It was the way he touched her, his hand gripping her arm, not like a lover, but like someone who owned her. He leaned in close, said something low and sharp. I couldn't hear the words, but I saw her flinch. And when she looked away, he grabbed her chin and turned her face back toward him hard. It only lasted a second. Just a flash of control. But that was enough. They didn't see me. Or if they did, they didn't care. I got in my car and pulled away slowly, heart pounding. I didn't know whether I wanted to scream or slam the brakes and drag her out of there myself. Instead, I drove straight to Jen's. She let me in without a word. Maybe she saw something in my face. I saw them, I said. She's not okay. Jen sighed, walked to the window, arms crossed. No, she's not. You were right about him. He's controlling her. The way he touches her, it's not affection. It's dominance. Jen didn't look surprised. He has this system, she said. I talked to a girl, Cora, who used to be involved with him. She got out, but barely. Said Roman finds women who are emotionally vulnerable, convinces them they're not being seen by their husbands or boyfriends. Then he awakens them, makes them feel powerful, wanted. But it's fake. I asked. It's transactional. He gives them validation, they give him control. At first, it's spiritual. Later, it's financial. Then it's physical. Eventually, it's everything. My hands curled into fists. Why hasn't Lauren said anything? Why hasn't she asked for help? Jen's voice was quiet. Because she still thinks she chose this. That hit me harder than anything else. Because I knew Lauren. She didn't like being wrong. She especially didn't like being publicly wrong. And to admit that she left her marriage, me, for a man who treated her like property? That would mean swallowing the one thing she had clung to, the belief that she was evolving, rising above her old life. It would mean admitting the person she chose as her ideal partner was a predator. It would mean facing the truth. And sometimes, that's harder than staying in the nightmare. I don't think she'll ask for help, Jen added. Not unless something forces her hand. Something like a crisis. Or a betrayal. I nodded slowly. My thoughts were racing ahead. I needed to know more. Not just about Roman, but about what Lauren had gotten herself into. So I started digging. Online, he was barely visible. No verified credentials. No real name. No clear business license for the coaching academy he ran. Just a few glowing testimonials that all sounded like they'd been written by the same person. But I found something. A woman named Melina Torres. She'd written a comment on an obscure blog post, something about escaping coercive control. She never named Roman, but her descriptions matched him perfectly. I reached out. She called me the next night. Roman played me like a game piece, she said. At first, it was amazing. I thought I'd found someone who got me. He made me feel seen, wanted, alive. But then came the rules. What kind of rules? I asked. Who I could talk to. What I could wear. How I spent my money. He even started coaching my responses, told me how to speak in a way that didn't drain his energy. And every time I questioned him, he'd make me feel like I was the one failing. I felt sick. How'd you get out? My brother. He showed up at one of Roman's private retreats and dragged me out after I'd been MIA for 3 weeks. It took almost a year to get my finances back in order. My family still doesn't fully trust me. I hung up, stunned. Lauren was in deeper than I'd imagined. And I realized something awful. She hadn't called me that night to make peace. She'd called me because a part of her knew something was wrong. She just didn't know how to say it. Or maybe, she was still hoping this nightmare would somehow justify itself if she stayed long enough. But nightmares don't explain themselves. They devour. It was 2:17 a.m. when the call came in. My phone buzzed against the nightstand like it was shaking from the inside out. I was half asleep, half dreaming about something I couldn't quite remember. But the moment I saw the caller ID private number, I knew. I didn't hesitate. I picked up. Hello. There was silence. Not empty. Trembling. Then a whisper. Jason. Her voice was so soft I almost thought I imagined it. Lauren. I sat up in bed, my heart thudding. She didn't answer right away. I could hear her breathing shaky, shallow. Are you okay? I asked. No, she exhaled. I'm not. There was something broken in her tone. Not wounded pride. Not frustration. Something deeper. Fear. I didn't speak. I let her find her words. I know I don't deserve your help, but I didn't know who else to call. I tried to leave tonight. Tried. That word sent a chill down my spine. What happened? He locked the door, she whispered. Said I wasn't aligned anymore. That I was slipping back into old habits. That I needed to be reminded of my worth. Jesus Christ. I gripped the phone tighter, trying to stay calm. Where are you now? In the bathroom. He's asleep. I hid my phone in the vent a few weeks ago. Just in case. Her voice cracked on that last sentence. And that was the moment it hit me, Lauren hadn't just stumbled into this. She'd fallen. And she'd known. Maybe not right away, but somewhere along the way, she'd realized that she wasn't free. She was owned. Do you need me to come get you? I asked. She hesitated. I don't know. A pause. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I know I burned everything down. I know what I did to you. I was stupid. I thought I was upgrading my life. I thought I was becoming something better. She took a shuddering breath. But I walked into a cage. And I don't know how to unlock the door. I didn't speak. I couldn't. Because everything I wanted to say, everything I'd rehearsed in my head for months, none of it fit now. She was broken. And more importantly, she knew it. And maybe for the first time, she saw me clearly. I can help you, I said finally. But only if you let me. I don't deserve your help, she whispered. Maybe not. But you still have a choice. Right now. You can let this destroy you. Or you can start climbing out. Another pause. Longer this time. Then, okay. 2 days later, Lauren showed up at my door. Not to move back in. Not to beg. Just to sit. To breathe. To exist outside of him. She looked like a ghost of herself, but for the first time in a long time, she wasn't wearing a mask. No filters. No coach speak. Just raw, uncomfortable humanity. She didn't say much that first day, but the silence between us wasn't sharp anymore. It wasn't punishment. It was necessary. She told me bits and pieces over the next week. About the retreats. The emotional purging sessions. The way Roman isolated her, kept her money, read her texts, reprogrammed her sense of worth. How he used praise like a drug, and withdrawal like a weapon. And most of all, how ashamed she felt. Not just for leaving me, but for believing someone like Roman could ever love her without an agenda. She didn't stay long. I helped her set up a temporary place with a friend of hers across town. Paid the first month's rent. No conditions. No expectations. Before she left, she turned to me. I don't expect us to ever be what we were. We won't be, I said. But I hope one day you'll think of me and not hate what comes to mind. I nodded. I don't hate you, I said. But I'm done holding space for you, Lauren. I wish you peace. But I'm finally choosing mine. She didn't argue. She just nodded, and that was the last time I saw her. Funny how silence used to feel like punishment. Now, it feels like freedom. These days, I come home to a quiet house, and I actually enjoy the stillness. I don't wonder where she is. I don't search for clues in discarded receipts or unfamiliar cologne. I sleep through the night. I make my own coffee, and I don't look over my shoulder. She thought she was walking toward a better life when she left me, but she was walking toward a man who didn't love her, just controlled her. And me? I thought I was being abandoned. But the truth is, I was being released. And for that, I'll always be grateful.
Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.